and my experiences, and
yeah,
so it's coming out pretty incredible, bro. That's a different book, but yeah, this one is one of them that I want to put out.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. All right. Well, I said it's live about 10 seconds ago, so I'll do a quick intro. So for anyone who hasn't been on the Untethered Consciousness channel, I'm Rod. I'm actually in Australia, in Sydney. It's 9 o'clock on Wednesday morning, the 9th of April at the moment. So I always like to tell people, wherever you are, just if you're here during it live, just let us know which country you're from. It's always interesting to see where people come from. If you're watching the replay, drop a comment, let us know which country you're watching from. I'm here with Rafael Garcia. Good to see you again, Rafael. So I think I spoke to you probably about a month and a half ago. Yeah, you've had some pretty wild experiences in your life. So
yeah, I know they're pretty wild.
it's like your everyday life is something that's pretty out of this world, but it seems like it's pretty ordinary for you. So just a little bit of housekeeping. If you do have a question, and people often do, then if we get a lot of comments, it's hard to pick out the questions. So just put a Q in front of your question. I'll monitor the comments and we'll pick out those for Rafael. We'll be going for, somewhere between 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how many questions we get. I'm also going to make it so that, let me just throw this up on the screen. If you do want to join us in the studio, if you've got a question, you don't mind showing your face. I mean, you don't have to show your face if you don't want to. You can just hook up the audio. But if you do, that's the link to get into the studio. So it's bit.ly/UC for Untethered Consciousness 250408. So it's the date, year 25, month 08, which is for most of you in America. That should be valid. If you are game, then you can join us in the studio and we can have a chat if you've got some questions as well. So I thought what we might do is, firstly, we'll just do a quick intro. If people don't know anything about you at all, and let someone meet you in a lift and say, what do you do with yourself, Rafael? What do you say to them?
Yeah, well, I had a spiritual transformative experience my whole life with, I've been able to see spirits and, kind of see the future, having clairvoyance. So that's kind of been a part of my life, my whole life. And then in 2004, I had an NDE where I was able to cross the veil and go to the afterlife. And then I was able to, to meet my family members on the other side. And then that was the welcome committee. And then from there, I went to meet the Council of Light, which are known like the elders or the council, which are higher beings that I got to. They got to reveal to me that they represented, the different lessons that we're here to master, unconditional love, compassion, integrity, honesty, forgiveness, letting go, all the virtues that we're here to learn. So they told me that, they showed me the cycle of reincarnation, and they told me that we'll keep coming back over and over until we master all of these lessons. And then they showed me that once we finish the cycle of reincarnation, because I still have 6 more lifetimes from what they showed me. And then, but they showed me what comes after. And then they said that once we complete the cycle, that there's other universes that we could get, we get to go, that we can then become, in one of the universes they show me, it's like the Ascended Master universe or the Avatar universe, where that's for all the Ascended Masters. And then that universe, you're like a 5th dimensional being. And then all beings in that realm, that universe, are telepathic. They have teleportation, telekinesis, and they're able to become aware of all the maybe thousands of lifetimes simultaneously. They're aware of all those lifetimes. So they're very multidimensional. So that was kind of one school. And then I saw another school, which was the Akashic Record School. If you want to become an Akashic Record keeper of planets,
like
stars,
a librarian.
Sorry?
Like a librarian.
A cosmic librarian, man. This is cool for that. And then another universe was for the creator schools. So that's where you become a creator of planets, stars, galaxies, and universes. So, so I got to see that. And then the other thing I saw was the Akashic Records, where I met the Akashic Record. Then I met one of the record keepers, gave me a book. And then when I saw the book the picture of the earth, and then it had some symbols. And then I knew it was the book of Earth. And then I opened it and I saw the future of Earth, that it's all, you know, where we're heading to this utopia, civilized, you know, society where I saw the collapses of the system and the, you know, the integration of new, more like the transformation of new systems, where these new systems that we're going to transfer to, they're going to be, you know, systems of integrity, transparency, and compassion. And then I saw a lot of the union, they're going to create the American Union, the African Union, the Asian Union. So ultimately, like no more borders, no more poverty, no wars. And then more of a galactic, you know, kind of civilizations where we'll start living in other planets, and then maybe other civilizations will come and, you know, finally come reveal themselves to us. So that's kind of what I saw the divine plan, the Akashic records. So that was pretty incredible.
So I want to ask you a question, because I have a deep fascination with AI. I use it in my full-time work, like all the time. I basically talk to AI all day long. And did you get any insight from your NDE about the impact of AI on society and on humankind in general itself?
Yeah, I mean, you know, not that I got something from that experience that they told me like, oh, this is what AI is. But personally, me, I just, from my awareness, from my state of being, from all these experiences, you know, like I had come to realize or to believe that it is like, you know, that, well, actually, you know, like I like to share something, because I came to see how throughout all my experience, because then I had many spiritual transforming experiences, and what I did get to see was that all ideas come from the center of the universe, or the great central sun, or the Akashic records. You see what I mean? All ideas and then they were downloaded into, like, they are spread across the universe through different civilizations and different planets, and then we all download ideas or information for ideas to create, you know. But I believe that AI is either sent through, you know, from the higher realms, from beings, higher realms, or from, it could be alien intelligence, or just from multidimensional beings that have sent this to help us ascend, you know, because we're going to go through, once AI is really launched, our ascension is going to be tremendous. Like, we're going to, from, like, you know, taking care of all the jobs, but then it's going to, you know, prove, like, quantum computers are going to prove string theory, parallel universe theory, and simulation theory. So then basically that's going to, like, because of AI, we're going to be able to, that'll become our new reality. You see what I mean? Like, oh yeah, we're multidimensional, parallel universe. Yeah, of course. It's been proven. Or, you know, there's different dimensions. Like, yes, of course, it's been proven by quantum computers that, you know, because of AI. You see what I mean? So I believe it's been sent, it has been sent down to help us ascend to the fourth dimension, for my personal
Interesting.
experience.
Yeah. So I was skimming through you've got a book in draft at the moment. Is the title still working, or is it actually called Q&As with the Cosmos? Is that going to be the title?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the title.
All right, cool. So I wanted to ask, because there's a lot of, you know, teachers, spiritual teachers, people who've had NDE experiences talk about this shift from third dimension to fourth dimension. And in your book, you mentioned that's the reason why a lot more people are having NDEs and spiritually transformative experiences. So can you explain what this dimensional shift means for us as humanity, and how we'll experience it in our daily lives, do you think?
Yeah, you know, so again, like the dimensional shift that we're going to go, it's basically kind of like what I mentioned earlier. It was like our new reality, well, which is, it's going to be proven, you know, and more you can see through, you know, different quantum physicists and all this stuff, and, you know, now they're winning the Nobel Prize, and then, you know, you see all these different scientists, you know, like Max Tegmark and Neil deGrasse and all these you know, scientists that are talking about string theory and parallel universe theory and simulation theory, right? Nick Bostrom, the Swedish professor in Oxford, all these professors, you know. So basically, like, and, you know, because of AI, so then our shift of as we're ascending, what does that mean? Well, that's going to be that, yeah, that we're living a simulation, like that this is a simulation, like that's going to be proven. So that's the shift of consciousness, you know, like all of a sudden, kind of like the earth is round, you know, all of a sudden, like, yeah, it's been actually proven. You know, it'll be in the Nobel Prize, like, yeah, it's been proven finally because of, you know, with the assistance of AI and quantum computers, that, yeah, we actually are living in a simulation. So, I mean, there's so many people talking about it now, right? But it's going to be proven, you know. So then that's the shift in consciousness, right? So all of a sudden, everybody's in the whole planet's new reality. It's like, yeah, we're in a simulation. And then also the parallel universe theory, or many worlds interpretation, that meaning that there's many worlds, parallel universes, or parallel lives, right? They were multidimensional, that we have all these other lifetimes that are happening simultaneously. Because when I had my NDE and I met the Council of Light, and they showed me the cycle of reincarnation, and I saw all my lifetimes, they were all parallel to each other. So that's where I came to understand that those are like parallel universes or parallel lives. So then if that's the new, basically, if it's proven scientifically through AI and quantum computers that even like, right, isn't like Google they came up with the Willow chip, which is basically already saying that it's trying to prove basically parallel universes, but it's going to be proven,
Microsoft too, I think, yeah.
Yeah. And then the simulation, the string theory too, like there's different dimensions. Like I'm talking about the different dimensions, and there's a lot of people talk about, there's the raw material. There's a lot of people out there. I think Matthias Stefano, there's Ryan, and a lot of people are talking about that there's different dimensions. So, so then, but then that's going to be proven scientifically. So I think that's kind of like where we're heading, that we are multidimensional and we're in a simulation, and that, that there's different dimensions. That's going to be the ascension, that's the ascension. And,
okay.
And then also the creation of new systems, right? So instead of having systems that suppress us, through fear, through the news, through, duality because of parties, fighting each other, wars, that's going to be gone too, right? It'll be more of instead of a duality consciousness, is going to go to unity consciousness, right? And then, so then that's going to be, we're going to help each other. There's going to be no more war, no more borders. Like I was saying, they're going to create all these unions and everything. All the money is going to be for the people. So like, maybe universal basic income. And, all of these things that it'll be to empower people and to give people, all the money, instead of putting all the money in wars, it'll be towards the people, towards education and, technology. That's what it means.
Yeah, I noticed that there's a survey that's done every year. I think it's the Gallup, and is the University of I think it's Oxford University. I might not be right. They don't quote me. They survey people in countries all over the world every year, and they create this like happiness survey. And I thought it was interesting that a lot of the Nordic countries, the ones that aren't at war with others, are in the top. So it's Finland, I think it was #1, has been #1 for quite a while. And then you've got some others like Norway and Sweden, etc. And it was interesting that US is number 26 or 25, I think. Australia, where I am, is number 11. We just got ousted by Brazil.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. But I mean, it does make me wonder, like a world without war, what that would be like, especially for places where that's been part of their experience for their entire lifetime. It's hard to imagine that it just would be ended, but yeah, it certainly would be interesting to see how the world looks then. Now, you also, in your book, you mentioned, I think it was in chapter 7, you're talking about that cycle of reincarnation, and there was 3 realms, right? So the avatar realm, the Akashic Records realm, and the creator realm. So they all sound really interesting. So how does a soul, like, do we just get to choose which path we go down, and how does that work? What's your understanding of that?
I mean, for my understanding, I feel like at that point, like, kind of like I had the choice. I mean, that's from what they told me, like, like, this is where you can go to, the choice as far as like what universe I wanted to go to. But at the same time, I feel like there could be more like some sort of kind of like school, like imagine you're like, okay, well, you can go, like, if you're a little kid, you can go to elementary, or you can go to junior high, you can go to high school, like, it's up to you, like. But more likely you'll probably go to the levels, that are kind of like, what I mean? You're not going to jump to high school when you're like 10 years old, 18 years old. So I think that maybe it was like a choice, but I also believe that somehow maybe we want to go through that process, because from what I experienced, the dimensions, as I came to experience them, like I realized that like the 4th dimension was like, that's where time collapsed, and that's where we become aware that we're multidimensional. That's why when I talk about in the podcast, I say that we're ascending into the fourth dimension. So that's kind of the fourth. The fifth is kind of like more like the ascended master realm. So that's kind of like the fifth dimension, and that's where, you know, that kind of universe where you learn to become very multidimensional. You know, like I'm aware of my 10,000 lifetimes. Maybe I'll start with, you know, 500 lifetimes that I can be aware of all those avatars, and then I'll work, you know, then I work to 1,000, and then I work my way up to become aware of my, you know, 20, 30,000 lifetimes simultaneously. You see what I mean? So it's like a school that to become very multidimensional. And then, so then that's a level, right? So I believe that that's kind of like for me, that was the fifth dimension. And then this, you know, the Akashic records, I believe that that's kind of in between. That you can also, like in the fifth dimension. And then there's levels within the Akashic records as well. But, and then the sixth dimension for me, that was kind of like where you become a creator of planets. And then the seventh dimension was kind of like you became a creator of stars. The eighth was like creator of galaxies. The 9 was the creator of a universe. The 10 was the creator of the multiverse. The 11, that was kind of like the source. The source is like, because the way I experienced it was the source, and then they had 12 universes around. So then you finally become kind of like the source at the 11th dimension with all the universes. And then the 12 is you kind of like go outside and meet other sources out there, and they have their own universes, and you learn from them as well. So something like that, you know. So it was like there was a choice, but I believe that there's still like you probably, you know, you got to go first to the avatar universe and kind of learn to become more of a multidimensional being, you know, something like that.
But it seems like it's never ending.
Those creator realms too.
Yeah, it's one of the questions that, you know, so I think it was one of my children actually asked me, so how did the solar system begin, and then how they've got this understanding there's a solar system, there's a galaxy, because we have these one of those projectors that projects it on their ceiling at night time. And you know, it's not an easy question to answer. Did you get any insights during your experiences about sort of like, I know sometimes you're trying to explain something in concepts that we don't have any point of reference for in our human existence, but did you get any insights into, well, how did let's say the universe start, or how did we get to the point where we are now, and where's it going?
Yeah, so from my personal experience, you know, it was like because it was the source, our source. Again, the source was like just a gigantic ball of light, you know, and then it kind of decided to divide itself into, you know, from what I've experienced again, right? I saw that it divided because I became the source. And then it's like remembering, it's because we're all the source, right? But from my experiences, I remember, you know, because it's not that I am the source, it's just everyone is. You know, I just start remembering through my experiences, right? But yeah, I saw the source, and then that's which we all are, right? So, but then how it decided it wanted to create small parts of itself or fractions of itself out of just exploration and curiosity, and to be able to explore different parts of itself, you know. So then it created 12 universes of the multiverse around it, kind of like our solar system, you know, with the star and the planets, kind of like that. But it was just all these other universes around, and then each one of those universes was like, you know, then it became like a small part, kind of like its children, you know, in a way. And then those universes, and we're in one of those. So then each one of the universes kind of like went on like, okay, well, I want to create like a different game, you know, different simulations. And then they start creating like dimensions. So then, okay, I'm going to create a game of different dimensions so I can like descend in dimensions and creation, you know. And so then I'll become, you know, then he created galaxies, of course, you know, it just of creation. And then the galaxies kind of then created the stars, and then the stars kind of created the planets, and then the planets created life, you know. So it's like a descension of conscious dimensions, and it was just for the fun, you know, more than and then is what's happening now is like as we descended down, then we're going back up, you know. That's the whole thing about ascension, is we're going back in consciousness, back again to our original selves, right? And then something like that's what I came to understand, that it was just, it decided to create out of just exploration And then it created these different dimensions, layers of levels, so that we can have fun and learn, and appreciate how we evolve.
Yeah, it's it's interesting to think about. We've had a few comments. Basic income and inflation go together, but AI will fix that. That's interesting. I've heard a lot of people talk about this, where as AI becomes better and smarter, that a lot of the things that require human labor will actually disappear, and then the kind of idea of a basic universal income comes into play. Hopefully there'll be still really interesting work to do. Anyway, and it's just not there's anything wrong with gardening as well, but that's thanks for dropping in and giving me that comment. DC is one of my online buddies here from Australia. Thanks for dropping in, buddy. I appreciate I haven't seen you for a while. I think he's got a bit of a spiritual leaning as well. And what else? So just to refresh people's memory, if you've got a question for Rafael, then just drop a comment and we'll get to that, pick that up for you. If you are game and you want to actually join us in the studio, then there's the address. So you just put that in your web browser. That will let you into the studio. Won't let you in straight away. I'll have to check you out first. But then if you want to have a chat with Rafael or talk about if you've had any kind of spiritually transforming experience, you can talk about whatever you want, really. Because I've had some pretty wild experiences people talk about in this channel. So that's what we're all about. All right, so another question, while we're waiting for any questions, see if anyone's game. Sometimes people are shy, they just sit in the background and want to listen, which is completely fine. So you've got, in your book, you're talking about the fourth dimension is a realm of transparency, integrity, honesty, and compassion, that the collective enters. That's where we're kind of heading from our third dimension into there. So how do you see that this is, I know you talked about how that manifests in world events, is like there's a breakdown of existing power structures and there's new ones coming in, this kind of creation of unions, the world. So let's take sort of the next decade. What sort of things do you think we're likely to see occur as that happens?
Yeah, well, something I saw like when I was, at the Cassia Records, it was like it was going to be the age of trials. So those are beginning. Yeah, I mean, they're beginning this year, and then, I mean, I don't know, for 5 years, maybe something like that, but maybe a little longer. But at the end, it's like, yeah, it's gonna be like, since we're entering this fourth dimension again, right? And it's a realm of transparency. So the governments have been doing, I mean, not just governments, but corporations, banks and pharmaceuticals and governments with military and all this stuff, it's been hidden under the, our eyes, right? Because they've been making a lot of money. But so then that's what's going to happen now, like the truth is going to come out. So they're going to basically find out, everything that's, like that's why everything that's going on right now, for me, it's a good thing. I mean, I don't know, there's people they go on different sites, like, what's going on, at least here in the US, right? With the governments that they're going on to, going after the budget, right, of the dojo and all this stuff. But for me, it's a good thing, because it's like finding out where all the money is. Of course, it's been going all this time, right? So, but at the end, it's like they're going to find the truth, and it's in all levels, right? In pharmaceutical companies doing, whatever we put in our food, and I don't know, 9/11, COVID, so many things, banks, so many different things, that the truth will come out, basically. And it's not about, like the left or the right. It's both sides, really. It's, it doesn't matter. It's just more like whoever the people that it's, whatever kind of corruption. So that's going to come up, and throughout the world. It's not going to be just, all over the world, like, right? So once this cleansing comes in, because we have to go through a cleansing on the earth. So then I saw basically that once we were able to, all the truth will come out about all the government, across the world, everything that has happened. That once that kind of happens, then we're going to transition into it, and then we're going to transform it, right, into a new system. And then I saw a lot of women leaders coming too as well soon. But then, like you say, in the next 10 years, and the next 5 to 10 years, it'll be like a lot of women leaders in Russia, and in the US, and in Asia and China. I mean, you'll start seeing a lot of women leaders. So I saw that all the women leaders were like, okay, we're ending the wars. So they were going to end the wars, and then they were going to create new institutions. I saw this new body, like a global ethical committee body, that was going to be created. we're all, you know, these universal laws, right? Like, you know, universal income for everyone, and I don't know, like free education for everybody, free healthcare for everyone. And then also AI, right? Because AI now is bringing like all this technology for healthcare. So then, you know, they're gonna basically like, it's all gonna be towards, so that we have, you know, whatever it is, like no more cancer, no more diseases, and people are gonna be able to reprogramming their cells, that they're gonna be able to live 200 years, you know, just a lot of different stuff like that. And then, but yeah, definitely AI too, I think is gonna take a huge role. It's gonna take a lot of the jobs, and you know, so then people are gonna be able to go more within, right? And then all of a sudden, because, you know, not about a month ago, I had this experience where I was able to time travel, or had a clairvoyance experience, like into the future. Maybe not. I thought it was a long time into the future, but probably not. Maybe 10 years, 5 to 10 years. But I saw that I was with my wife, Linda. She's from Sweden. We were talking about Sweden.
Mm-hmm. One of the happiest countries in the world. Yeah. Apparently.
Yeah, right? Yeah, they're the happiest. And then, but I saw how we were like, I saw that the new system was already in place. You know, the new system, like what, you know, like basically, well, you know, and it was incredible. Like there was like no limitations, you know, like because of AI too, all the prices are going to go down. And then, you know, and then as soon, you know, when there's no more, when instead of all the money going into military, it's going to be just for the people. Then there's going to be like universal basic income or universal abundant income for everyone. And then on top, you know, like people are going to come up with whatever ideas they come up with. And then you can make money doing that, right? Because that's what I'm trying to do with my platform, the Project Utopia 2025. It's a platform that I'm working on, a social media platform. But there'll be a lot of ideas, but people will just, whatever idea you want to do, like you want to make a movie like that with AI, you know, you'll make a movie. Or you want to create an app like that, you can create an app, or whatever, you know. So it'll be all for where humanity is thriving. And so I saw that there was people were in power as well, right? So yeah, that's what I saw. So yeah, in 10 years, it's going to be a whole nother world. Like it'll be like, yeah, it'll be transformed 100%. But thanks to AI, you know, so that's why I believe like AI, it's a technology that it has been sent down. My wife calls it alien intelligence. So.
Yes. Yeah. So what's your, I mean, there's a lot of, I don't often have people talk, I've had a couple of guests talk about UFOs and UAPs and whatnot, but there just seems to be, there's a lot of people trying to bring more awareness into that, especially from a scientific point of view. There's a lot of whistleblowers, you know, David Grush and others that have talked about it. And my understanding, or my initial fascination with UFOs was, you know, flying discs and the stories told by like Whitley Strieber, you know, with abductions, etc. But my understanding has evolved quite a bit, and there's many sort of different facets of that particular phenomena. And it's almost like there's a lot more, whether we've got visitors from outer space or whether we've got visitors from inner space or from another dimension, it's really hard to say. I'm sure we'll probably figure it out. Maybe it's all three. But they seem to be taking a lot more interest in us as human beings at this particular point in time than they ever have before. Did you learn anything about that, you know, that particular phenomena in any of your experiences?
Oh, you mean about aliens, or is that?
Well, whether it's alien or just the whole the whole sort of, it's hard to say. Well, it's hard to say aliens, but let's go down that path anyway. But it could be, because you don't really know. Is it? It could be aliens, or it could be ourselves visiting us from the future, or it could be people that live inside the web or from another dimension. You know.
Yeah. I mean, all of them, right? From beings from other dimensions. It's our future self. Because and then it's aliens. I think it's all three of them. And I, you know, I kind of experienced all three of them. Like I actually, yeah, I have seen. They were like, so like, it's kind of like I saw the Lyrans, you know, the lion beings.
Mm-hmm.
I saw them, but again, like I was telling you, I've seen spirits my whole life, so I grew up with this, man. So then. But then in 2011, I remember, you know, they came, these beings, you know, came in form of, because they're fifth dimensional beings, right? Because I was talking about the Ascended Master, or you know, fifth dimensional beings, right? You're a very multidimensional being. You're very, and you can become aware of your in a physical body or without a body, you know, because so the way these Lyrans or these multidimensional beings came to visit me, they were not physical, they were like in spirit form, but they still look like resemble lions. And then there was 3 of them, and then they opened up my heart. They said, we're here to open your heart. And then they from their heart they kind of like emanated energy to my heart. And as they opened my heart, I was so much energy coming into my heart. And then I saw these points in my heart. They were like kind of like green, kind of green, blue, and purple a little bit. But I saw many, you know, like, I don't know, 100 points or whatever. And I saw all these points around my heart, and I was just like, oh my God. And then I realized that each one of those points was like a different astral ability, you know, that we can act, that all of us have, you know. Again, it's not just me. When I talk about all this stuff, it's like, it's all of us, right? I'm just sharing with you, you know, with everyone in the audience. It's like, because it's, you know, it's available for everybody. But I came to realize that these are like our abilities, our astral abilities, that if we can activate them, then it's like one of them can be like astral travel. You know what I mean? Like, because as it got activated, then I started astral traveling, and then maybe another one was like quantum jumping. So you can then start maybe quantum jumping to parallel universes or parallel lives, which I have done too. And then one of them can be like time travel, right? So you can time travel as well. And so just different abilities like telepathy and, you know, communicating with spirits, teleportation, telekinesis, and stuff like that we slowly start developing. And I kind of experienced a lot of them. I haven't levitation. I haven't levitated, but I know that it's real because it's kind of weird. I feel like it's possible, and telekinesis too. I feel like it's possible too. I haven't done it, but a lot of these abilities I have experienced, you know. But anyway, there's like little dots. So I have experience seeing the Lyrans, and then also, or you know, when I met the Council of Light, or I met this other beings that show me the other universes where there were other beings. So they're like multidimensional beings, right? That I met. And then my future self, you know, it's funny because I had an experience where I time traveled to the past, and I saw myself when I was like, I don't know, 4 years old, 3, 4 years old. I was with my mom, you know. So as I time travel, it was like I see myself with my mom. And then, so again, it's just my astral body time traveling, you know. And so I'm here, like I go there like a spirit, and I see myself as a kid. And then all of a sudden, the little, you know, little Rafael kind of like looked and felt that there was somebody there. And he kind of looked at me, and I was like, oh my God, he's looking at me. You know? But again, he only saw a spirit, you know. And then my mom tickled me, and then I kind of forgot about it. So then I realized that was like, oh my God. So maybe sometimes if I've seen spirits, I always thought like maybe it could be my future self. You know? So then, yeah, our future self can come visit us as well. So, yeah, all of them.
Yeah, I often think about that. My wife's had a couple of experiences where she's gone to do something, or she's been in some situation where she's really got a strong urge, like almost like a tap on the shoulder. And it's not always the same kind of feeling, but she's had this feeling that was like, that was actually my future self telling me, no, don't do that. Just go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I you know, I believe in that 100%. And it's funny because the last time you know, it's funny because too, like one time I was asleep and it was like 3 a.m. and I remember, you know, like I say, you know, I mentioned many times I've seen spirits. So, but I was underneath the blankets, and then a spirit came, which I felt the presence. I didn't see it, but because I was in the blanket, and it was like right in my bed, you know. And then, and I told the spirit, you know what, come back tomorrow, another time. I'm too tired to talk. And then the spirit left. And then the next day, I got a phone call that was my dad that had passed away, you know. And then, but then something else happened, like maybe about 2 years ago, a year and a half, 2 years ago. I remember the same thing. I was asleep under the blankets, and then a spirit came, and I was again at the edge of the bed, but I didn't want to. I was too tired, and then it sat in my bed, you know, and I still didn't want to look. I was just like, come back another time, and then it left, you know. But then I thought, you know what? It could have been my future self, you know, like. So now next time I'm like, if they ever come back again, or if it's my future self or whoever spirit, man, I'm getting out, man, because I keep missing them around. But yeah, it's a future self.
Yeah. So we've got a question here from T, thanks. T, so if you've got a question, just drop it in the comments. What function does lucid dreaming play in our evolution as humans? So this is a question not just about what it is, but what is it? What do you think it plays in our evolution, Rafael?
Yeah, I think it's to realize that we're in a dream, right? Like we are in a simulation. I mean, we are lucid dreaming. You see what I mean? Like, so it's playing the role to help us understand that this is all a dream. That's also what it means to awaken. You know, to awaken is to realize you're in a dream, basically lucid dreaming, right? So people that start having a lot of these experiences and realize, like, oh my God, yeah. When I had my ND and that I was with the council, I realized like that was all a dream. Like, you see what I mean? So then when I come back, I'm like, man, this is all a dream. So for me, I'm lucid dreaming all day, every day. In a way. So I think it's just to prepare us to understand that yes, that we are, you know, that we're just in a simulation, and then that we, you know, that we are, this is all the school, you know, this is all simulation that we created to learn lessons. So I think it's a good thing, because for me, when I realized that like it made me not take things so personal, or, you know, like not get caught up in all the problems and all the drama. And I'm like, man, this is all a dream anyway, right? It's like we're all dreaming, and this is all a simulation, right? So I think it's just to help you maybe kind of cope with you know, problems, and it's like, don't take it too seriously, don't hold on to them, because, you know, it's just a simulation, just a dream. So yeah.
Rafael, do you ever get people asking you, they say, Rafael, you have so many of these really cool experiences and I don't have anything. I've just got my everyday life. Do you ever get people ask you, like, how can I have more of, bring sort of that kind of, I guess, energy into my life so that I can be a little bit more in touch with, like, for want of a better word, the other side?
Yeah, you know, so for me, again, you know, it's like, I believe for me, like, one of the ways, I'm not saying it's the only way, but one of the ways is kind of like mastering the lessons, you know, or you're mastering your ABCs, right? Like, you want to fly, or you want to, you know, you want to run, but you can't even crawl, right? So it's like, what is your ABCs, or what do you need to do is master your lessons. Again, you know, when I talk about the lessons was like the council light represented those lessons, right? So, which is hard. I mean, we're all here to learn the lessons, right? Which are like the forgiveness, the letting go, the patience, you know, unconditional love, the surrender, the integrity, the honesty, the respect, you know, all this stuff that the more we align with this, you know, I would say the difficult ones are, of course, you know, the forgiveness and the letting go of attachments, or you know, things that we are holding on to that cause us suffering or whatever, or the judgment, you know what I mean? Like, all those things kind of like hold us down. So if we are able to liberate ourselves from all those hardships and all those things, and let go and forgive, and you know, then we raise our frequency automatically, right? Because these are things that kind of hold us down. So if you're able to let go of the fear, you know, that's a huge one too. People have fear of, not fear of things like, you know, like maybe like they don't want to come out of their bubbles or their safety zones. You know, they want to maybe do something in their lives, but they're afraid of, you know, like maybe they want to leave their jobs or a relationship or something, you know, but for whatever reason they don't want to take that risk. You know, people are like, they don't, you know, so then that's a lesson in itself, right? Like you have to have trust, and you have to, so I believe that the more you master these lessons, then that's a way to, you know, start having these experiences. And also compassion. Like for me, I work with people with learning disabilities. I've been doing it for like 14 years. Mm-hmm. I used to do it too in Australia with children. But, you know, as I started this kind of work, man, it was this compassion, you know, that I put out to help people, like, that it gave me the experiences, you know. So I believe that just, you know, coming from a good place in your heart is, you know, instead of being angry, like people, instead of being caught up with the news and getting upset, you know, like, and being angry at the politicians or the system or the people that don't believe like you, your ideologies, you know, people want to defend their ideologies. And instead of getting caught up in all of that, just let go of all of that, you know, and realize that it's, I mean, that at the end we're going to ascend, you know, but focus on yourself. I always tell people, just focus on yourself. And then, so I would say for people to try to just focus on their lessons, and then automatically you know, then their experiences will come, you know, you will start activating your heart chakra, or activate your DNA strand, your 12 DNA strand. And I think you will just start having these experiences, and of course, listen to podcasts like yours and read books and all this stuff. So then you become aware that this is real.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. I had this interesting experience. My wife just went away for 2 weeks to New Orleans. So she's normally like the primary care. I've got two small children, two older ones. So the two smaller ones are 5 and 7. And so I was looking after everything, getting them to school, back, etc. for those 2 weeks. And there was this one. Well, there was two valuable lessons. One was it was pretty intense, right? Because it is a lot for anyone who's got small children, you know what it's like. Like you kind of, by the time you get up, get them to school, you basically got a few hours. You got to get back, and then it's like, making dinner, getting ready for the next day, getting to bed. It's just like that's a lot. So the first thing I noticed was that it was kind of tough because I was used to my own little bubble, in work and just occasionally having to be responsible for the children. But also I had this other experience with my daughter where we had this particularly heated, we could call it a heated argument. She's very, very strong-willed. And she wanted to do, she always wants to do things in her particular way. And her shoes had managed to get wet the day before from the rain, right? and she did not, of course, she didn't want to wear those shoes, but she just wanted to wear like rubber boots or I think it was Crocs to school. Right? I said, well, you can't do that because it's not. You got to wear these shoes instead. Anyway, she would not budge. Right, would not budge at all, and we ended up getting in an argument about it. And then eventually, thankfully, my youngest son, he said, well, she can wear my shoes, and then he had a different pair of shoes that fit him okay, so we managed to work it out. But I later on thought to myself, you know what? I really like trying to push hard against her particular willfulness was really not that useful at all in that situation. And it was, I don't know, it was kind of like the lights went on and I thought she could have just gone to rubber boots. I mean, what's the worst that could have happened? They would have said, well, rubber boots aren't school uniform, Belle, but what are they going to do? Send her home? They're not going to do that. And she would have been quite happy. We wouldn't have even had that entire discussion. So it changed things for me from that point on. I was like, now I tend to go, well, what's the worst could happen with whatever her requirement is, as long as it's not ridiculous. And then, okay, well, let's just run with that. And then sometimes she learns the lesson that she needs to learn, not from me trying to push her to go a certain way, but from something else that happens as a result of her decision.
Right, right.
So, you can have these, I don't know, not exactly sure why I started in this trade, but difficult things and difficult situations often result in these kind of transformations of the way that you think and your relationships as well. But that wouldn't have occurred had I not been put in that pressure cooker first. So, I think a lot of people talk about a coming utopia. I know you've heard about coming utopia, but I think it's also worth remembering that there is still this element of where we're put under pressure and have tough experiences that actually result in our transformation as beings as well. What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, you mean the hardships? Like, what was the last thing you mentioned? Because I didn't hear.
Yeah, they're tough experiences and
tough.
Yeah, well, really, tough or transformative experiences. Yeah.
Like kind of like what you were saying. I believe that since we're in a simulation, right? Our higher self is this game player avatar in the fifth dimension, and then it has all this. Like the way I experience is all this bubbles around him. Or around this being of light, and then he goes into that, and he's seeing all those simulations, right, in these bubbles, which is we're in one of them, right? You're in one bubble, and I'm in my higher self is playing the game, right? And the avatar for kind of like the movie The Matrix, right? And then this is my avatar right here, and then you have your higher self, and you have your avatar, and then I believe from what I've seen and what I experienced is like our higher self will keep bringing experiences into our lives. Like, for example, like, let's say you don't want to confront your fears or should I do this or not? Or like I was mentioning before, or whatever it is, or, the forgiveness or whatever, then your higher self will keep bringing you different players or other avatars that are similar to your experience, so that they can also bring you the experience. So, because if you don't want to confront, or you're kind of like don't want to really go through the lesson, and you're like kind of avoiding it, then our higher self is never like when people are like, oh wait, this is happening to me. It's really our higher self, and it's really to help us. It's happening for us to help us challenge us to confront our triggers or our lessons that are hard, you know. So I believe that. So then, if you see it from that perspective, like with that lens, like, okay, wait a minute, let me put this about this other lens where I'm like, okay, this experience, you know, that's why. Why is this happening to me? Like, and if you try to see it from the perspective of the player, that it's like, oh, okay, so maybe because I need to master this. But yes, I believe that at the end, you know, your higher self will keep bringing you different situations, similar experiences, or with different characters, different avatars, so that we can confront there's no escape around the experiences. so, but again, it's all to help us, right? Like, so if you see it from that experience, like, then it's like, then you can be like, okay, well, I need to work on myself a little more. I can let go, I can forgive, I can, you know, whatever, be more patient or whatever it is. But yeah, that's kind of how it works. And then, you know, all this experience kind of happened to ultimately so that we can complete the cycle, right? Like so that we can become liberated beings or ascended masters, and so that we can keep ascending. So that's kind of how I see it.
All right, we've got another question here from T. It's pretty left field, this one. Do mRNA vaccines have a role in our evolution? I honestly don't know much about mRNA vaccines. I don't know about you, Rafael. You got any insights?
Is that was you mean for the COVID? Is that?
Well, I think that's one of them, but the mRNA technology itself was developed, and that's probably the most well-known application of it. But I think that's also used in other ways as well.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, you're right. I mean, like, so, like, what do they carry? They carry like genetic information. So yeah, I believe so. I believe this is kind of like the future, you know, yeah, to modify our DNA, right? So that we can either so that we can you know, like maybe we can adapt to new environments. Like for me, I'll give you my theory about why. I mean, again, it's my theory, but about the whole thing with COVID.
Go ahead.
Because I mean, I didn't believe that was. I mean, okay, that thing maybe was real, but you know, the way they exploded it with, like, you know, the whole world, like, I believe that was, you know, for me it was like, okay, wait a minute, there's something here, you know. But for me, the way I believe, I mean, again, I don't know, people don't have to believe, but for me, it's like, because it's like, okay, well, what's the catch here? But for me, it's more like they're trying to modify our DNA. So, for example, because, you know, I think it's like, if you look at history, like, everything has always been about the new frontier, right? I mean, you know, the Roman Empire was trying to conquer all Europe and different, you know, continents, and then the Vikings, and then the Spanish went to, you know, the new frontier, the old, you know, the old world, right? I mean, the new world. It was always the new frontier, the new frontier. So then, if you ask yourself, what is the new frontier now? It's other planets, right? I mean, we're already done with this one. So I believe that they're trying to modify our DNA so that we can, maybe for our offspring, so that they can, you know, that they can maybe adapt to that environment over there. So I believe that, yeah, they're modifying our DNA for that, so that we can live in other planets. I believe, again, that's more like a theory. And as far as like, but also for our, you know, maybe to deal with different diseases, or also experiments so that we don't age, you know, different things like that. But yeah, I believe that that's a role of our evolution for sure.
Yeah, I don't know much about mRNA. I was just doing a bit of reading here. It's so there's mRNA doesn't the use of mRNA technology doesn't actually alter our genes, but it does. It's basically like instructions. So the instructions, the messenger RNA gets into our cells, which then instructs it to produce a protein like the spike protein for SARS-CoV-2 to trigger an immune response. That's essentially how it works. So I guess on a larger scale, that has the ability to influence like mortality, etc., in populations on a bigger scale. And who knows how else, you know, if you think about, I like to think of our bodies as they're like really complex computers, and we've found this way to introduce instructions to alter the programming, which the DNA is like the kind of like the machine language right in the middle. And then there's the other part. That's the way I kind of think about it. So how are we going for time here? We got 10 minutes. So I'll just see if I've got any more questions for you. If you do have a question, if you've just dropped in, you feel free to ask a question of Rafael. Don't be shy. We're probably not going to be on for very much longer. The Mandela effect was something that I saw mentioned in your book, and it's described as a program created by six-dimensional beings to help humanity understand multiverse concepts. So could you tell us more about that particular phenomenon and why it's happening more frequently now? And for people who don't even know what that is, can you just give us a brief primer on that too?
Yeah, I mean, the Mandela effect, right, is that Nelson Mandela, some people have a memory that he died, right, when he was in jail. And then I guess some people have that recollection of memory, like a lot of people, you know. But then there's another group of people that are like, no, wait a minute, he didn't die, you know, like he was alive. He was president, you know, of South Africa, and then he died. But so then people have two different stories, right? And then I guess it's like all over the place now. If you just Google the Mandela effect, there's like about different movies and different products. Like they, you know, like they changed the name of the script of the movie. So like, wait a minute, I always remember that. And so then a lot of people are remembering different scenes or different stories, or, you know, like that. It's like, that's why it was called the Mandela effect, where, you know, there's two different realities. And for me, this whole thing about the Mandela effect, you know, that is being introduced now to the world, and that for some reason people are having a recollection of two different realities. It's to introduce the whole concept of parallel universes. Because again, you know, like I said, soon, like I would say within the next 5 to 10 years, like, I mean, if they unleash AI and quantum computers to its full capacity, even in less than that, you know, maybe 3 to 5 years, they'll prove the parallel universe theory. So, but that's eventually it's going to happen, however long it takes, you know, I don't know, 5, 10 years, however long. But then it's kind of, so this is kind of like preparing the stage for us to kind of like ease it up on us and to become aware that, oh yeah, there is parallel universes. You see what I mean? So it's a glitch in the matrix. For me, it's more like the higher dimensional beings, kind of like in the 6th dimension, kind of like putting this into the matrix, into the simulation, right? Because again, for me, and we're in a simulation, kind of like the movie The Matrix. Like from you guys, right? You guys came up with the movie. So
well, they filmed some of it here, yeah.
Yeah, it was that's the best movie ever. But it's, you know, from the higher realms of this, you know, this beings kind of like sent down into this, if through information or through codes, you know, they send it out to this matrix, right? And then to say, okay, put it out to this matrix that they're, you know, about this Mandela effect, but that there's different realities, right? So that's just to prepare us and to get us ready, so that when they actually prove parallel universe theory, it's like, oh my God, there are parallel universes. It's like, yeah, and then that way we can then start exploring more the, you know, superposition, right? And then the collapse of the wave, that this is the collapse of this wave, but then there's all these other lifetimes or parallel universes or other avatars of you happening right now. So that's the next stage, you know what I mean? So I believe that it's just this whole thing with the Mandela effect is just to prepare us to the whole idea of the parallel universe theory. So
cool. All right.
Yeah,
so listen, we're gonna wrap this up, Rafael. I'll just give you a chance to just tell us a little bit about your Project Utopia 2025, what you're doing there. I've got links to all your different websites in the show notes, so people can go and check that out if they want to. But maybe you can just tell us where that's at the moment and how it might be useful for people.
Yeah, of course. So my personal website is decodinglifelessons.com, and that's where I, you know, give one-on-one sessions to help people either, you know, with understanding their life lessons or, you know, whatever hardships people are going through, I help them. And then or if they want to talk about, you know, ascension or the 4th dimension, or if they want to talk about the different dimensions or how to quantum jump, this kind of stuff, you know, that people are interested, I can help people with sessions. And then you can find out more too about, I talk there more in depth about the dimensions too in my website. And then the other one I'm doing with my wife, it's projectutopia2025.com. And that's more where, you know, we're creating this social media platform where, you know, where our ideas basically what we want to do is trying to create, you know, this platform where kind of like a TikTok, but you can upload your ideas, and then through AI, you know, and trying to get investors and angel investors will create your idea. So that's kind of like where you can find out more about me and my wife, Linda, too, in this Project Utopia 2025.
All right. Awesome. So, Rafael, it's been fun having you back on. Thank you to DCT, a couple of others. I think I saw them lurking and then they disappeared again. But I appreciate the people who have coming on to support the podcast. I know it has been a while since I published a new video. I've actually got, I think it's Linda. I haven't quite finished it. I will definitely publish that next week. I've got another one to do. And yeah, the combination of the new full-time job and the channel is a bit more than I thought it would be, but we'll still keep trucking along. It's always fun to have conversations like this, Rafael. So I wish you well with what you're doing, with coming up with the project, and good luck with getting your book. When you want to have somebody actually read one of the final versions, I'll be happy to do that. I'm a pretty good English Nazi as well. I appreciate you coming on the show today.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you. That'll be nice. Yeah, right. And then before you go out, I like you to meet my wife. So I don't know if they're.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, bring her on.
Bring her over, okay.
She's like, I don't want to put my face on the camera.
Rod.
So warm in there.
Thank you, Rod. This is my wife, Linda.
Hi, Rod.
Hey, Linda.
Hi,
nice to meet you. Yeah,
you
good.
Too.
Raphael talks about you a lot, actually. So
yeah, we're trying to do a lot of things. Some of it is his own kind of, but you know, I'm trying to help there too. But yeah, we're trying to create this gigantic project.
Yeah,
so,
it's a big mission. It's a bold mission, which is the best kind.
It's pretty bold for sure. I said I make a joke. I said we're gonna go from broke to billionaires.
Well, we're gonna help the people, empower the people more than anything. You know, so check out our website, Ron, and then you know, like you get to hear a little more.
I will. I'm actually having a look. Yeah. Well, you know, it only has to make a difference to one person, right? I mean, obviously your mission is much bigger than that, but that's the way I kind of look at it. It's worthwhile creating anything if it just makes a difference to one person. You know, that still can spread over the entire world. So it's worth getting involved.
Yeah, we're just trying to kind of solve the problem that, you know, we've realized that so many people have when they have an idea. I mean, I'm sure if you went around to all your neighbors or coworkers or friends and you asked like what ideas they would have to help improve the world, many people have a lot of ideas and they may be written down or not, but a lot of them have never been launched because most people would need funding.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the platform we're trying to create, where everybody could come on in this one inspirational platform and upload their idea, and then using AI for the good, as far as like matching that with philanthropists, donors, and investors, and then get something done instead of just like talking and arguing, you know, about everything, especially here in the US. I mean, we're like done with this political division.
Yeah, I think too. The thing is like kind of like create the new matrix, right? The new 4D matrix is let the people create it, right? So our idea is to put this platform where people can come up with better ideas in education, in healthcare, in politics, in jobs of the future, you know, something like that, where people come up with an idea and then, you know, they can upload it. And it's kind of like, let's create the new matrix, right? Because the old matrix is going to kind of collapse. So then let everybody create the new matrix. So something like that. That's kind of what we got.
That's awesome. Now, I think that a lot of the times when people have good ideas, they really don't know where to start. Like and so the idea kind of withers on the vine right there and then. So even just having the ability to sort of put their idea out there a little bit, so that someone else can see it, and then perhaps, you know, that might inspire them, and so then that sort of it ends up having some life where it may not have before. So that's great.
Yeah. Do you have his email? Maybe we can send the 2 videos.
Oh, we'll send you the video.
Right. We just got through with the second video we created.
Okay.
So it's just cool. Under a minute if you kind of want to get an idea a little bit what we're doing.
Sure.
Yeah, if he wants I sent him my book with the Q&As with the customers.
Oh yeah.
He likes it, and he say later on he can help me with you know, editing or whatever. He's a
Yeah.
good English.
Did you grow up you're in Sydney, correct?
That's right.
Is that where you grew up, or?
No, I actually grew up in the bush in Western Australia, so right out in the outback.
Oh, okay.
I moved to Sydney in my sort of mid-20s. That's where I've lived ever since.
Yeah. Rafi said, yeah, it's definitely one of his favorite cities in the world.
Yeah, man, I love Sydney, bro.
Yeah, well, especially if you lived in Bondi, like Raf did.
Yeah,
it's a pretty nice place.
Paradise.
Yeah. All right. Well, it was nice to meet you, Linda. Thanks for coming on the show again.
Thank you.
Raf, yeah, good luck, guys.
You do.
Yeah,
I know, Raf. Thank you so much
for providing this platform, because all the podcast hosts that are doing this is such a service to humanity. So thank you so much for, especially for, I mean, this is becoming kind of not so strange topic anymore.
That's right. Yeah,
you're a great interviewer too, Rod. Like really, man, I love your questions. When I show up Linda the interview, the first one, she's like, "Oh my God, man, that's so good." I'm like, "Yeah, man, he was really good. He was asking really good questions." So,
I appreciate that.
Great,
yeah, well, you learn how to be a better interviewer as you do more.
Yeah, it's definitely there is a difference in different podcast hosts as far as how they think and how they can kind of penetrate the information and kind of be the bridge from the experiencer and then to people that may not be so familiar with the topic or have a difficulty understanding it. So thank you so much for
thank you, Rod.
being able to digest, especially with Rafael. He's had like so many experiences.
Oh yeah, right.
So I'm never bored. I'm easily bored. So it's like I'm never bored now.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. There's things beyond.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, it must be.
Anyway, I'll let you guys finish.
He's already done.
All right. Yeah, we'll say goodbye to the audience. Goodbye to you guys, and good luck.
Okay, Rod,
we'll be in touch in the future.
Thank you, Rod.